Hello everyone, I'm back with another video. This is a 2-month review of the LG Gram 17-inch, or I guess 17.3 inch. I did the unboxing. This is the model that I got at Costco. It's 16 gigabytes of RAM, 1 terabyte SSD drive. I've been using it pretty much daily for work primarily. Now, the first thing I want to say right off the bat is answer the question, like, who is this for? This is for someone who essentially is looking for the largest laptop with the largest screen to do MS Office work, web browsing, light work, emailing, what have you. I got it on sale for $8.99. I actually saw that it dropped to $6.99, which was an absolute steal. I don't know how long that lasted, but even at $8.99, I think it was fine. But I don't think, but it's not for video editors, right? So I just think that as long as you understand what its use case is, and I would not pay over $8.99. I keep getting this annoying sort of spam stuff. I'll talk to you about that later. As long as you're not expecting too much out of it in terms of performance, but you just want the lightest laptop with the biggest screen possible and at a reasonable price, get it on sale. Don't pay full price. If you can get it at Costco, if you're in the US or wherever at Costco, if they sell it there, or wait till it goes on sale, because every time the new models come out, obviously the older stuff goes on sale. So I would try to do something like that, right? I wouldn't pay, I think it was $1,200 or $1,300 or what have you for it. I know there's a higher end version with 32 gigabytes of RAM and 2 terabyte hard drive. I mean, if you want that much RAM, then I guess you can, but I honestly don't see the use for it, because this is not a video editing machine. This is not something that it can do it, but it's gonna get hot like a toaster, and two, it's just gonna be slow. So I wouldn't necessarily get it for that. But if you get it for what it is, and you can get it at a good price, then this actually could serve you really well, especially because it's really an amazing Microsoft Office kind of suite device. The spreadsheets, Microsoft Word, PowerPoints, everything will look fine on it. It has the ports for it. It has the HDMI port if you want to show something, that's fine. So just get it for what it is. A light, large laptop. I wish there was a MacBook Air like this size. I have a MacBook Air 15. I also have a MacBook Pro 16.2. And honestly, I use the 16.2 more because of the screen size, even though the 15 is much easier to carry around. If there was a MacBook Air that was a 17, I would totally be all over it, right? If there was a Surface laptop that was a 17-inch laptop, that would be great. That was also at least within the 3-pound range. This is super light, super light. Now, having said that, so the ratio of lightweight to big screen, and price to a certain extent, especially given the weight and the portability of it, is really unmatched. However, the build quality is good. It's not cheap. I have read some people online complain that it's kind of cheap. It feels cheap. It's magnesium. It's like a magnesium build. I don't feel it cheap. It feels solid enough. It's not going to be, MacBook Pro. It's not going to be a Surface device from Microsoft. It's not like that. It's also not that heavy either. So take it for what it is. Okay, that's my advice. But it's good enough. It's not cheap by any means. Don't believe the hype with respect to that. The screen, it looks nice. You can see here, just browsing a couple websites here, it looks good, right? You really scroll in on it, and it looks good. Yeah. Rest in peace, Bill Walton. Just passed away today. So the screen size is fine. I don't have any issue with it. Just the moving, the sort of scrolling in and out is fine. The screen brightness is actually not bad for outdoors. I wouldn't necessarily use it, all the time, but it's matte screen, so it doesn't glare as much. So that's kind of nice. And it does get pretty bright, as you can see. It's definitely bright enough, obviously, for indoor use, but it's pretty nice. I think I have it all the way up, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see here. Yep. Yeah, so I would, I like it quite a bit in terms of the screen size. There we go. Let's get to, yeah, it's totally all the way up. So that's the max brightness there. I don't know what the nits are, but on the daily use test, it's fine. The touchscreen was a really pleasant surprise. I'm used to using Surface devices when I use Windows devices because I like the software experience, the lack of bloat, kind of like using stock Android. But everything is really responsive on this touchscreen. Even the things that are like really small. So, for example, if you have to click on something small, with the Surface device, it's actually kind of tough. Sometimes you have to really hit it at the right spot. You don't have that issue here, right? You can really just tap on things and it's responsive. I don't know if it's because of the matte screen. It just feels super responsive to use the touchscreen. I really like using the touchscreen with this. And again, I don't know if it's because it's matte, but it just feels more responsive than like I've had Surface Pro 8, Surface Pro 7. I didn't get the 9. I had the Surface Laptop 4, and all of those touchscreens were okay, but sometimes when you would have to hit a really small thing, you'd have to get it just right in order for it to like react. And this one, you don't have to do it. So that's actually pretty nice. It's probably actually one of the best touchscreens I've experienced on a laptop, pretty much since I've used any touchscreen laptops, to be really honest. I prefer it to any of the Surface devices I've used it for sure. The camera's fine. I've never had an issue at all with Windows Hello. It's, okay for Zoom. It's a little it's not, perfect. It's not like an iPad camera necessarily or your iPhone camera, but it's good enough, and it gets you through Zoom calls. But Windows Hello works flawlessly, and that's good. So that's another positive. Again, take this for what it is. Now, what in terms of like what its use case is, this is not going to do any heavy lifting. The battery life is good enough. It gets me through a day doing office work, Microsoft Office work, grading essays on Canvas, anything work related, PowerPoints, occasional grading on Excel sheets, using Chrome, Teams, Adobe, all of the things that you do for office type work. I'm an educator, so that's kind of what I do. The battery life is just fine. It doesn't. I have no issues with the battery life. A couple of times I've had to plug it in because I was, had it max brightness, and I had a bunch of stuff open, a bunch of tabs, maybe a bunch of different applications, but everything is just fine. Okay, I haven't had any issues with that. Okay, so there's that. Now, the issues I have had with it, or the things I don't really like about it, are the bloatware, the LG bloat. I try to get it off. I keep trying to delete it. For some reason, it's hard to delete. I guess I could do a clean install, but I'm not going to necessarily hassle with all that. It keeps popping up. I've deleted the McAfee whatever internet thingy that they try to sell you, and it keeps coming up. Critical updates necessary. Critical updates for LG. I'm a stock Android type of person, although I do like Samsung. It's just fine. It's really clean now, One UI, but I prefer the stock Android experience. I prefer the Microsoft Office experience when it comes to laptops or Windows laptops. This is not the worst, but it's annoying. And I don't find anything really useful about LG software that I would want to really get into. I'm just here to do my work. I use Office, the Office suite, use Canvas, use Adobe, Teams, Chrome. That's all. I don't really, with this laptop, I don't venture into anything else, and I don't have any desire to like mess around with any of the LG nonsense. The speakers are kind of meh, so let's see if I can get to YouTube. Let's see this YouTube videos. The speakers are okay. They're not the greatest. They're just okay. So let's go ahead and find a video. Let's see. I don't know if I don't want to do any copyright things, so I'll just use one of my own videos here. My videos here. Okay, so let's do that. And I just did a review. All right, let's do the review of Spectrum Mobile. Okay, so let's do that. And Let's play that video. Hello everyone, I wanted to make this video to talk about my experience with Spectrum Mobile. I've read a lot of things about... So it's kind of tinny, right? That's max volume there. It's kind of tinny. That's what I would say. It doesn't really... It's nothing, there's nothing really great about it. I don't like, I wish the speaker, given the size of the laptop, and this is another issue I have, the very inconsistent with respect to the trackpad here. Now, I don't necessarily, I mean, I wasn't expecting MacBook speakers, maybe not even Surface level speakers, but these speakers are pretty bad. I think they could have, with the chassis here, you know, especially if you're paying like $1,200 for it or $1,300 for it, they could have done way better with the speakers. They just sound really tinny. They don't sound, I wouldn't even bother playing any music. Well, one, I don't have to copyright stuff, but two, it just does not sound good at all. Okay, so the speakers are very meh. They're okay for listening to a podcast, listening to just talking, watching a video, maybe watching a movie, but they're not, I wouldn't play music on them. Like even the music that I would play, like kind of in the background while I'm doing my work, I just put it on my phone instead because it doesn't sound very good on this laptop. So I think that's one thing that, you know, I'm not a big fan of. That definitely could have been better. The other issue I've had is that it heats up. And I don't video edit on this thing. I use Microsoft Office Suite, Adobe, all the things I just mentioned, Canvas online, a bunch of tabs. And to be honest, I don't see any reason for it to be heating up. Let alone when you try to download something. When I downloaded the Adobe Acrobat Suite, man, it just, I could have cooked an egg on this thing. So I was kind of leery about that, but even then it heats up. Like even right now, okay, and you see what I've done right now, it's not hot or anything, but it's a little warm. And I just don't see any reason for it to be even warm. And you get used to using MacBooks and they don't heat up at all. Now the Surface Pro, yeah, it has, you know, there's a reason for it because it's a very small chassis and you have a full computer. I don't, you know, my iPad even heats up sometimes because of that. You know, I can totally understand that. But for a 17-inch device with this much space, I mean, I don't see any reason for it to be heating up, doing light tasks. And again, video editing, I can only imagine what it would do because just downloading software was putting it through its paces, it felt like. So that was kind of whack. I'm not really too fond of that. So yeah, the bloatware, the speakers, the heating issues, I think is a problem. The trackpad can be hit and miss. I feel like sometimes it works fine, like, and then other time, and it just does its own thing. The reaction on it is also, as you see, it's a little bit laggy. I don't experience this on other devices. So I just think that it's kind of weird. It just feels like you click it and then it responds like a second later. So, and I just feel like it's inconsistent. Like you have to definitely keep touching it in the exact spot you touched it before. And, you know, you get used to using an Apple trackpad and those things are like the best for the most part. And the Surface trackpads are also amazing. So I guess that's kind of the standard I'm comparing it to, but on both levels, like Apple and Microsoft. It also, I feel, could be a little bigger, but at the same time, that's also an issue because of the way the keyboard is laid out. So I'll get to that in a second. The other issue I've had with it is that one of the charging ports, it only gives you a USB-C charger, and you know that's fine in the box. So there's no proprietary charger anymore like in the old LG computers. And you just plug right in. And I've had issue with this one. Like this one works fine, and this one here, and there's the HDMI right here, the USB-C. There's the 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, and on this side you have a couple of USB A's, and that's about it. You can do a micro SD card slot as well. So it has enough ports. The ports are great. The HDMI is especially good for a laptop this thin. But this one here, one of the USB-C ports, it kept like not charging. the computer, and it was plugged in. It wasn't like lodged out or anything at all. I pop it back in, take it out and put it back in, and then it would work. And then after a while of just using it, nothing was falling out. The cable was where I wasn't getting a charge. So and the laptop wasn't charging. So that's kind of concerning, and I think that's one of the reasons I'm gonna have to ultimately return it, because for 800, 900 bucks, I'm not gonna be messing around with a bum port. And unfortunately, Costco doesn't do replacements, so that's gonna be an issue as well. Now, and so the trackpad's kind of hit and miss. That little port has been an issue. That's the heating up. I mean, the bloatware in the speakers, that's one thing. The speakers, I think, there's no excuse for the speakers being this bad for a laptop this big. The heating up is an issue. The port is kind of an issue. But if you don't have those problems, then I think this can be a great laptop for you. So I don't want to totally, especially for $899 and especially for $699, that's a whole other thing. Here's the last thing I'm going to say, and I think this is a critique that's been made about this laptop. I get that they're trying to like make this sort of that large device that people could use, and they have this full keyboard here with the number keys. I wish it didn't have the number keys. If there was a version of it that didn't have the number keys and the keyboard was centered properly, like this is how I'm used to doing it, right? If it was centered properly, then I think I wouldn't have as many issues smashing, oh, sorry about that, smashing the trackpad as I'm trying to type. Now I can hold my fingers up properly and that's fine. Mavis Beacon typing, right? But generally speaking, we kind of do this. It's kind of part of the laptop, right? It's a little comfortable to do that. And unfortunately, in proper typing position, your palm is going to rest right here, smack in the middle of the trackpad. And you can get used to it. I did get used to my dog. I did get used to it after a while, but I would still accidentally hit it, and it was hell of annoying. So it's just too much. Like, I get they're trying to make this an end-all be-all device for somebody who is like and this kind of maybe is a contradiction on my part, is like the Office, Microsoft Office Suite person, right? Like, you're gonna have everything here. But I just feel like this the numbers here, it just feels a little bit too much, given the placement of the trackpad. Now, maybe if they could have moved it over a little bit, the trackpad, I don't know how that would look. That might be kind of awkward, but it would make for a better typing experience. And you can still have this here. I just wish it didn't have the number. If this was eliminated and this was centered and maybe put some nice speakers on the sides, then this is a really good laptop. But I think for me personally, given that annoyance, because when I'm working, I'm really trying to focus and concentrate on what I'm doing here, I just can't really deal with this keyboard being here. Again, you can get used to it after a while, but even after you get used to it, there's not a lot of laptops like this. Now, if you're used to this and this kind of setup, and this is what you do, you do like payroll, books, what have you, accounting, and this works for you, then I can totally see this laptop is great. I'm not sure about long-term LG quality control issues. I've had bad luck with LG washing machine. I had bad luck with an LG G4 phone. The motherboard tanked twice and I had it replaced. So I'm not really sure what the quality is, but Costco warranty is 2 years. So that kind of gives you a little bit of peace of mind. And at $899, it's solid. And again, if you had it for $699. So here's what I would do is, if this is what you really, if you can go for it, wherever you buy it, make sure you use it, as much as you possibly can within whatever the return window is for you, and see if it works for you. See if you can get used to the keyboard. See if you're okay with the heating. Hopefully you don't have the quality control issue with the USB-C port that I have. And if it does, this could be an outstanding, and get it on sale. I wouldn't pay more than $900, $899 for this thing. There's no need to do that. And 1 terabyte, 16 gigabytes of RAM, that's fine, especially for as big as it is. And the screen is nice. It's a really nice screen, as you can see. But for me, it's going to go back. But I think that I'm not saying it's a bad computer. I just think it has to be for the right person. Okay, well, that's about 20 minutes in, so I hope you're well, hope your family's well, and take care of yourself.